We're going to do an intro?
Yeah. What's going on, YouTube? It's the Bushy Beard with
Bushy Dad.
And we're back and we're bushier than ever. This is something new that we're going to be trying to do here.
Yeah, well, I had been thinking about it for a while, and especially, when we listen to Elite Battah, and when you think about Elite Battah, his main job, he's a forklift operator. And then you see this man who has, tremendous ability, world-class ability in music, and yet here he's working at an everyday job.
Right.
And stuff. And it made me think about the people that I know at work.
Okay.
Like where I work at a big state hospital, state psychiatric hospital.
How long have you worked there?
Oh, well, 30 years.
So are many of the same people still there that were there from when you were first starting?
You mean employees or patients?
Employees.
Yeah. Less and less. After 30 years, there's fewer and fewer of the ones that I know.
Okay.
But there's still a few around that I know, But one of the women that I work with, her name is Sharon, and Sharon's our housekeeper.
How long has Sharon worked?
Sharon she's had to work for a couple of different companies and stuff.
Okay.
So at first she was with the state, then they privatized it, and she went with the privatized company.
Okay.
But I think she's been there like maybe 12, 15 years, something like that. I'm thinking that. I'm not exactly sure, but she's been there a long time. Her husband worked there full time, and he's already retired.
What did her husband do?
Well, her husband was one of the direct care staff supervisors.
Okay.
It was his job to make sure that these guys did right, which that's a tough job.
And before we go further, I want to kind of explain the concepts.
Okay.
If that's
All
okay.
right. Sure.
So we want to kind of, highlight everyday life lessons that we learn from other people, and just kind of talk about it, explore it, and the title is going to be Gold or Coal, you decide. Life lessons from Bushy Dad.
Yeah.
And so my job here is kind of just to facilitate and kind of pull out different things about it and just let him discuss it, and we'll go from there. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about what to expect. And so go ahead.
Well, and first, I'd like to comment a bit on Sharon's job performance, because she's a housekeeper. Mm-hmm. Now, she had worked with patients, I think, for a while, but she didn't like that. So
it's like a direct care staff.
Yeah.
What would a direct care staff? What is their job entail?
Is to hang out with the patients all day.
Okay.
Keep them in line. Try to keep them calm. And if they get triggered, to try to let them calm down and, get back under control. Try to get them up and moving, going to their classes.
Okay.
Also, that when they're getting in trouble or misbehaving, they have almost like a police-like thing that it's kind of their job to get them under control. Mm-hmm. That's why I thought it was funny when people were talking about, when these guys are out of control, send in social. We don't send in a social worker. The social worker and the psychologist are often nowhere to be found. Yeah. So when the troubles happen,
you're probably like curled up under your desk somewhere, right?
Well, the sad fact is I'm pretty comfortable in almost any of the situations.
Right.
Just because I've done it so long.
Right.
And I know what to look for, and I know how to stay safe. So those are the things that kind of that I know about.
Okay.
But anyway, Sharon, I would go in and for my computer, because I only work 2 days a week, and I go in and the computer caps lock would be down. Mm-hmm. You know what that meant? It meant that Sharon went in and she disinfected my keyboard and the computer and everything else. And I have to say, she did such a good job. We give her a lot of credit for it. A number of people got COVID at the hospital.
Yeah.
Nobody caught COVID at our area in the hospital.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nobody caught it. People who had it came in with it, but we had to wear masks and stuff so they did not spread it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Sharon's in there cleaning up stuff all over the place. Really doing a great job. So that's how I came to know her. But she and I were talking one day about her husband when he retired, and her husband, what he did was, there's a number of ways you can take your retirement. You can get it, monthly. They'll send you a certain amount of monthly for the rest of your life and stuff. And then one of the other ways you can do it is to take all the money out at once. Mm-hmm. Then you'll have this big lump sum, but it may or may
spend
not.
it.
Yeah, well, Sharon's going, my husband, he took it out all in one big lump sum.
All right. Well, so for advice, are you receiving retirement funds right now?
Oh yeah.
Would you suggest people take it out in a lump sum or as monthly payments?
Well, if you are really good at investing, you might want to take it out in a lump sum.
Okay.
If you're really good.
Right.
I mean, if you know what you're doing. If not, it seems to me that a pretty good sized chunk of your salary every month is a good way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me,
this is not financial advice.
No, this is not financial. No, you do not want financial advice from me. I am blessed as an old man, but it doesn't have to do with me being smart about finances.
It's with other people being smart. With
other
finances.
people, and I just think I'm blessed. The Lord's blessed me. So Sharon was bringing that up, and in psychology, there's this study, and what they did was they took little kids and they brought them in, and they go, okay, here's a marshmallow. They go, oh, good, all right, and then they go, but here's the deal. I'm going to leave the room for a little while and then come back, and if the marshmallow is still there, you'll get 2 marshmallows.
So what was the point? What do you know necessarily what they were trying to see?
Yeah. Can you delay gratification to get more in the long run?
And were they thinking that this had more effects on people later in life, or how they're going to act later in life?
They followed up on them.
Okay.
And when they became adults, the people who waited on the marshmallow were far more successful than the people who didn't.
Okay.
Didn't. And so I tell the story to Sharon, and I'm going, well, what? She goes, I'm waiting on the marshmallow. And I said, and then what if I told you if you waited like a half hour, I'd give you 3 marshmallows? She goes, I'm waiting for the 3 marshmallows. And so anyway, I thought, well, Sharon got it.
Yeah.
She absolutely knew what I was talking about. What happened was, probably about 2 weeks later, she comes in and she's working with her niece. Mm-hmm. And she's saying, I'm trying to get my niece with the marshmallow thing. She just eats the marshmallow and stuff.
So she kind of went home to do hands-on exploratory research of her own.
Yes. Yeah. Sharon's going to use an idea that I talked about. She's going to take the idea home and look at it closer, and which is cool.
Broaden her knowledge and things like that.
Yeah, well, because she loves her family.
Yeah.
And then
do you think something that can be something that's taught, to delay gratification?
Well, here's the thing. I haven't read any psychological studies on it, but Sharon's done a study on it.
Okay. Well, let's find out what Sharon found.
Well, Sharon came in another time when we were talking a little bit about it, and when she was walking out, she kind of looks back at me and she goes, there's a trick to this, to that marshmallow thing. And I'm going, no, what's the trick? She goes, the trick is that, like, when she was working with her, she said, when I was working with my niece, she doesn't hear the second part.
Right. She's focused on the marshmallow.
Yeah, she's just looking at the marshmallow. And so when I go, so she says, I told her there's 2 parts to this. Here's the marshmallow. If you wait later, you'll get 2 marshmallows. And she said, and then she said, and now my niece waits. Now, do you know what Sharon did? Sharon did a cognitive analysis of the study, broke it down into some other parts, observed closely what was happening in her niece, and then prescribed a potential intervention.
Something that probably every person who worked on that study didn't realize.
Well, that's the thing about psychologists. You see, if you give a person with good common sense a psychological principle, they can explode with it. You give it to a psychologist, they go,
they'll ruin it, right?
well, we've been indoctrinated.
Yeah.
We're indoctrinated to think as psychologists. A person with good common sense doesn't think like a psychologist. They think far more broadly
Right.
than a psychologist does. And so Sharon looks at it and goes, she's not doing it yet. And she looks at it, analyzes a little bit further, and then she effectively gets her niece to understand it. Now, to me, that's that same thing. What you got is, the genius of the everyday person to look at certain things, take an idea, utilize it effectively to make her life and her niece's life better.
And it's almost like there's just more lessons, right? So if you have a problem,
right,
that you think you know how to fix,
yeah,
it's never a bad idea to let somebody else know that problem. If you have a study that you want to perform and you're like, I know how to perform it, I know how to do this because I'm a psychologist.
Right.
And sometimes we underestimate people. We underestimate people's intelligence based off of placement in life, which is not a fair thing to do. And so it's almost would behoove a psychologist to ask the normal people, what would you do differently about this study?
Right. There's that in a lot of ways, I think, could break up some of the... What you do is, in any higher education, there are two parts to it. You're learning about something, but you're also indoctrinated into the current theory.
Right.
When I was young, 1972, I graduated from college, and I had a degree in psychology. At that time, the major paradigm was behaviorism.
Okay.
Behaviorism, and I'd argue it till I was blue in the face. Behaviorism said we don't really think, and if we do, it doesn't really mean anything. We just think it does. Because behaviorism was focused only on measurable, observable behavior.
Right.
If you couldn't measure it, you couldn't observe it, it's like almost they were saying it isn't there.
Right.
There isn't anything there. And what has happened over time, now, so if you had asked me in 1972, well, Gary, I'm a human and I think, I would have argued with you. And I would have had all the arguments. And probably after about 15 or 20 minutes, you'd go either, yeah, I guess you're right, or I still don't think you're right, but I don't have anything more to say. Because I'd wear you down.
Yeah.
But the person with common everyday sense never quit thinking that people think.
Yeah.
Nobody would think that.
Right.
No human thought that, only properly indoctrinated psychologists.
Right.
So that is one example of the thing that you learn when you're in school that you will have to unlearn as time goes on.
Right. And the thing is, when you have something like Sharon did with her niece, now every time her niece is in a particular situation, she can think, this is a marshmallow test.
Yeah, yes, and she does think of those things.
Or maybe I should listen a little bit more to the second half of these instructions. It's kind of like the test when we were given in grade school. It's like, make sure you read all the questions first.
Okay.
And, us as being indoctrinated, we just start doing the test.
Yeah.
And then the very last question is like, you don't have to, if you wrote any answers, you failed because you're not supposed to answer any questions on this test. That's a marshmallow test.
It's similar to that.
Yeah.
It's looking at the end and realizing how important that is. And that oftentimes the other things aren't so important that you get caught up in.
Right.
And, and again, it's like if you give a principle on psychology to a psychologist, it's almost predictable what you're going to find out. If you give it to a normal person who really thinks about things and is really pretty dang smart in some ways, you might get something even better. I think that's why with business that you have these everyday people finding out something about whatever, leveraging that then in order to make something new and different and to be able to turn it into a way to earn money for their family.
Right. And that entrepreneurship is a great way to do it. And you see what we see as models for entrepreneurs are like the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, the people well, we're never going to be like them. They're brilliant. But every business you see are started by people really from everyday life.
That's right.
Jeff Bezos probably was an everyday person struggling and decided, hey, you know what? We can sell things online. Mm-hmm. And it'll make everything that much easier.
Well, that could be.
Amazon was created. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like what we see is these standards. They had to start somewhere, and it as long as you're doing it and you're moving forward, that's all that matters.
Well, and I think as time goes on, the way that human knowledge is increasing now is now at a it doesn't go like a straight line. It's mm-hmm. now exponential. It's going up, and it's going to be the everyday person who catches something and understands about it and understands, I think there might be a market for this, that are going to be the ones that are going to be changing things. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what the next thing is.
Yeah.
But, I would have said, oh, those stores that rent videotapes, they're going to be around forever. Nope.
Not anymore.
Nope. Netflix. And if you didn't catch that you weren't going to be around, first off, you figure out, well, these little discs take up less space, and you know what? They last longer, and they've got better picture and everything, so you go to the disc. Then the next thing you know, you got a streaming service. Mm-hmm. Then the next thing you know, you're streaming almost everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the next things will be. I think most people really don't know.
Right.
I think some people think they know. But in order to find the next thing that would be helpful and useful to humans and figure out how to leverage that, it's going to come from an everyday person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
and by everyday person, I'm not talking about that they're stupid or whatever. Some of them are brilliant. There's a lot of people who, are entrepreneurial at heart. One of the women at work, Renee's uncle is incredibly creative. But because he's so incredibly creative, he gets incredibly bored if he's just making a good living.
Yeah.
He's got to go on to something else. But you got to have somebody then who takes the idea and then fleshes it out.
Right.
But he can come up with ideas like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I mean, great ideas. So.
But yeah, the marshmallow test is something to consider.
Yep.
One thing that I thought about is just a different variation is, were there were probably people that just wanted that one marshmallow, didn't care about getting other ones later.
Well, and that could be. And if they thought that through and thought, well, I don't want to get two, I'm on a diet, and I'm on Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
That, again, they're doing their consideration, and they're operating within their best interest. My argument would be that they're likely going to be successful people too.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting to see how people's minds work.
Oh yeah.
And how somebody, how people can surprise you.
Oh, allow them to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in media and in politics who have made a horrible conclusion. And their conclusion is that they're smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Now, some of them are very smart, but they're not smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Whatever solutions are going to come in this world,
it's not from them.
It's not going to come from them because they give out the same things all the time. Mm-hmm. And for them, supporting who's already rich and making sure that they stay in those areas is what they do.
Yeah. And the thing is, with it, they have no benefit in fixing the problems. Mm-hmm. Because then they can run on it again in 4 years.
Well,
and that's where we, as everyday people, have to fix the problem.
Yeah. The thing is we've recently had a guy who not many people liked. He got elected in. I would say that he's not the kind of guy that we would invite to dinner. We wouldn't hang out with him. I probably don't like the people that he calls friends. but he wasn't a politician.
Nope.
And I think that some of the things he did really helped a lot because he was a businessman.
Yeah.
And because he hadn't figured out how to leverage being a politician to make a huge amount of money yet. He instead actually did some things to help. And I think that when you look at what he did to the economy, it makes me wonder if almost any businessman or businesswoman or business person, I don't care what your just a business human would be better at running the economy than any politician. And I'm talking about politicians who used to be business people but are now politicians, because they've learned how to make politics a business.
Yeah.
So,
and
maybe
it's almost like they're doing it on purpose, right? All these politicians for however many years come in and, we'll fix the economy eventually. 3 or 4 years, the economy was doing good, and now we got another politician, and we're back at the economy.
Yeah, and it's not like there isn't good advice, but there isn't useful advice. And I think that when a politician gets into power in a place, it's not really a power. They've already sold much of what they're going to do to other people.
Yeah.
And the other people are the ones that
are running the show.
Yeah. And the other people are usually pretty wealthy and pretty powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this kind of video. Let us know down in the comments what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what we could do better, kind of things like that. We'll move forward. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, you can give it a dislike as much as you want because no one's going to see it.
and Sharon, if I messed anything up, let me know.
Yeah. You'll have to show her the video.
We'll see.
She'll be an internet superstar.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag Sharon.
I love Sharon.
So,
she's a sweetheart.
I hope y'all have a good night. And as always, until next time, YouTube, smile like you mean it from the Bushy fam. A second.